So welcome back, everyone. Now it's 3:20 sharp. I will already make our next presenter, Fabrizio Velez from Nokia, a presenter. So he will be able to check the last time, the screen and the audio. I hope that you all arrived now back to our last block of presentations. We still have 6 presentations to go, and then our virtual event of 3 afternoons will end. So here we are, Nokia, Fabrizio Velez, the floor is yours.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Fabrizio Velez with Nokia. I'm right now the enterprise strategic pre-sales lead in Nokia software. I would like to present today what are the solutions that we have for emergency services. There are 2 key solutions that we are, one of them is already deployed across the market, and the other one is actually a repurpose of our core and core network of voice over LTE, voice over 5G solution to address also the evolution of next generation emergency services. The first thing I want to point out is that Nokia, obviously because of our brand, we have always been, and even today, we are basically attached to the devices, but Nokia is not in devices anymore. We are licensing our brand to another company. Really, our focus right now is connecting, everything right now, and we have a strong focus on the industry 4.0 and the revolution, that 5G is going to bring to the market over the next few years. So we are focusing on these high performance private networks and also the digital industrial automation. And we have a renewed focus on different verticals across those industries. The one that we are addressing today in this call is going to be in the public sector space. And that's where I would like to present our next generation emergency services vision to enable the total conversation emergency calls between the citizens, PSAPS, and first responders. So this diagram, I want to show you that, it's trying to at least illustrate the importance of working with each of the components in this emergency call flow, right? So as we can see, all the communication service providers are really the ones that are collecting the information. Today, I will give you an example. In the US, 80% of the emergency calls are coming from cellular phones. So the idea is that we have, the citizens, they basically request emergency assistance via these wireless, wireline networks. And at the same time, these networks are the ones that are connecting to all the other enterprises, whether it's school districts, public sector, hospital. So that means that from the emergency call and in the concept of NG112, where we basically are going to have both citizens initiated emergencies as well as IoT devices, the communication service providers are the ones that have access, to basically collect all that information. And now we route that information via this emergency services network. Some of you have to be familiar with the XE standard that is based on the EENA NG112 document. And that's where we have the core elements that basically use the location information available from the service providers to route the calls to the appropriate PSAP. At the same time, the idea is that now citizens can use other media types to request emergency assistance. So we have a very interesting evolution from the traditional emergency services communications from these voice-only communications to a multimedia emergency sessions. And now the next generation PSAP is also very important because all that information that we are collecting from the citizens, from the IoT devices, has to be processed, analyzed, and the actionable intelligence created. And that's where also the public safety broadband networks, we have now a path to basically evolve the Tetra systems to public safety LTE and very soon, also 5G. But that's where the actionable intelligence is exchanged with the first responders via these future public safety broadband networks. One of the next things that we have to take into account that this is going to enable that the total conversation emergency call, where basically we are exchanging in real time location, voice, video, real-time text, and IoT emergency data. But one of the challenges that we have across all the world, including the North America, is that those multimedia emergency sessions and even the location-based routing is not yet widely supported. There are a lot of efforts, a lot of initiatives. There have been a few projects in the EU, and also we have what EENA is doing as well right now, the recent testing. But that's the challenge that we have. So how do we address that? And I would like to show you that one of the solutions that Nokia is bringing is to leverage the 3GPP ecosystem to implement the next generation 112 core elements. So this diagram, what it's showing you is that we have on the left side, the traditional XC, right now the core elements. On the middle side, that's the standard that was published in the US in December 2016, which uses a 3GPP architecture to implement the same NG911 core services architecture. So as you can see, there is a direct mapping, and all these Nokia products that you see here are actually the same field-proven network elements that are deployed across the world and that are powering all the voice over LTE networks around the world. And Nokia is one of the leaders behind this. So our solution is really composed of leveraging Nokia expertise in the 3GPP space by using a proven SIP call control and also the media part with the location services that are needed. But the idea is also that that's where we are the experts. We need to also work with partners that are experts on the GIS as well as in the next generation PSAP, because those are also going to be very key partnerships. And there are several companies right now that are leaders in the US. We have seen also a couple of leaders in Europe. And therefore, we are building this partnership ecosystem to address the evolution of next generation emergency services. And as you can see here, the idea is that now we will have the SIP call with the location information and all the media. What I can share with you is that Nokia is actually currently doing testing with one of the tier 1 CSPs in the US, where we are already texting voice, real-time text, and next week we are going to do video. No, and it's interesting because it pretty much worked from day one. No, we still have a couple of more steps to basically do the solution launch that we are going to do over the next 3 months. But there are several opportunities both in the US and a couple in the Europe that we are starting to address with this solution. What are the, finally, in this aspect, so what we are doing is bringing another option to implement the NG112 architecture using the 3GPP-based functional elements. Is the same platform that is being used today for us as a citizens. Everybody who has a smartphone right now, we are already doing voice, video, text, everything. And that's the same platform, right? And it's access, service, device agnostic, and is also the future-proof evolution to new IP-based communication services. In fact, in 5G, the same voice over everything, that's how we call it right now, is going to be the same 3GPP IP multimedia subsystem. So what we are doing is really leveraging the robustness, the interoperability, the economies of scales of the 3GPP standards and ecosystem to implement the NG112 core elements and enable the total conversation emergency calls. We are leading in the deployments of voice over LTE. We basically, in terms of coverage, is 40%, is the same also platform for the mobile, fixed line, and Wi-Fi. And one of the key things is also to have a very flexible API interface that allows any other applications to leverage all the call management, call control functionalities that the 3GPP IMS core ecosystem brings.
Fabrizio, your time is officially up. I know you still have quite a slides to go through. I will allow you 1 more minute to close, okay?
Yes, I think that what I want to close is I have seen many presentations about the public warning system. I just wanted to point out that Nokia also have our solution. It's actually deployed, and I have seen so many discussions about it. I just wanted to point out the following. Our solution is already deployed across the world. We are obviously working with all the key service providers to provide the public warning systems. And right now, we are also now helping in Europe based on the mandate that was also issued by the EU. I will stop there then.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio, for respecting the time, for closing very shortly. I now look at the questions from the audience. I don't have any. It would be now too late to ask the audience to write them because we need to move to another presenter. Fabrizio, thank you very much for your presentation, for being with us today. And now I move to another speaker of today, Ian Klukas from APD.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we do hear you well. We see your slides.
Excellent.
You're ready
Perfect.
to go.
Okay, I'll just move that out of the way. So hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation in which we're going to look at the effects of the COVID pandemic on the emergency services. But in particular, we're going to focus on the potential of remote working for control rooms. So my name's Ian Klukas. I'm a product manager at APD Communications. Just a little bit of background about us. We are a UK-based company who specialise in control room operations, and we try to maintain an ethos of continuous learning and adapting to the changing needs of our customers. And we really do this by keeping in close proximity to our end users, or as we like to say, the people with the headsets. So we do have a global presence and over 30 years in the industry, and we have more recently developed and refined a user-centric design process. Now, the last point there about recognition, what I mean by that is we do like to give something back to the community, and we've got a range of initiatives to recognise the amazing work that is done by people in the control room. As you can see here, the International Control Room Week has just ended, and if you wanted to read more about that, if you wasn't involved, you can go to the website and read all about it. So it's certainly an understatement if I was to suggest that the COVID pandemic has introduced some very unique circumstances. So we felt the need to do something to bring a bit of a shared understanding about how the situation is affecting control rooms, and hoping to shed some light on these unprecedented challenges. So we embarked on a research project to understand the impact of the pandemic on the control room in particular. So between March and June this year, we conducted an online survey. So naturally, where we are now, we need to revisit that and review and supplement our initial findings. And we had responses from people across all the different emergency services, police, fire and rescue, ambulance and coast guard. And although it was open to international customers, it's fair to say that the uptake was primarily UK focused. So what was the impact? Well, first of all, if we look at staff availability, We can see from the chart on the screen there that less than 12% said there was no change to workforce ability, which means, of course, 88% of control rooms were affected in one way or another. And looking more deeply at the numbers, we can see almost half of the control rooms experienced reductions of staff in up to 10%. Over a quarter faced reductions between 11 and 25%. However, approximately 15% of control rooms saw a greater than 25% reduction in staff numbers. So whilst this could be due to general sickness and other things, there's probably little doubt that most of this points to the impact of the pandemic itself. So we can explore this in a bit more detail if we look at the need for staff to self-isolate. Almost half of respondents said that they'd seen up to a 10% need, which is not huge, but then a third, so up to 20% of staff having to self-isolate, and 4% actually saw up to half of staff having to self-isolate at one stage during the pandemic. So naturally, in that situation, it presents a huge impact to the control room operations. However, it is worth noting that a small percentage saw no change in staff availability at all, and we need to really establish what was different in those areas, or what measures perhaps those control rooms took which meant they were unaffected. So this all warrants further investigation, and particularly around the plans for mitigating such risk in the future, especially as the pandemic continues to have an impact. So to remote working then, the new normal as it's called. I think we all know that many sectors of the economy have had to switch to a mobile working environment, but how does that work for emergency service, or even does it even work for emergency services? We have to ask that question. So let's look at this in a little more detail in the context of the control room. So at the time of the survey, 60% of those surveyed were unaware of any plans to roll out the ability for staff to work remotely, with a third reporting that there were no plans at all, and only 7% actually stated that there were plans actually in place to enable remote working. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be looking to do more research in terms of what may have changed due to the ongoing nature of the pandemic. But still, in this situation, we wanted to know why these numbers seem so low. So first of all, we were interested to learn which roles are perhaps suited or unsuited to remote working. So you can see here that the control room supervisors, and perhaps fairly obviously the roles such as social media and web chat operators, were those thought to be most suited for remote working. But only 13% of respondents thought that call handlers could in fact work remotely, and as regards incident managers and dispatchers, combined, that was less than 10% felt they could work remotely. So we then wanted to really understand what the barriers, or what barriers people thought existed to remote working. So whilst a very small number couldn't see any barriers at all, there were a range of other factors identified by respondents. So for example, 17% mentioned hardware availability. Now, you would think that was a fairly easy problem to solve. Another 13% mentioned internet connectivity issues. Again, probably an easy problem to solve and something that will go away over time. Most surprisingly though, at least to us, was that 18% highlighted problems with setting up their critical systems. Now, in terms of our own ICS and our CRM systems, it's entirely possible for us to deploy these workstations remotely, and I would hope that most modern systems would enable this. And clearly, this is where cloud systems come into their own, and in the very near future, all you should really need is a browser. Okay, so if we put those barriers aside, we can see that at least half of the issues highlighted are of a softer nature. No less important, of course, but worthy of note in terms of future planning. So, what insights can we draw? Well, Many organisations will look back at the pandemic to learn lessons about what could have been done differently or what could have been done better. And reflecting on responses to the survey, we can see that there are broadly 3 areas of focus: technology, of course, managing change, and looking after people in the control room. And you can read about all 3 in the survey if you want to download the white paper. The link is on the screen there. But just focusing on technology for a second, I mean, in general, there's clearly no doubt that the use of technology has played a huge part in maintaining communications during the pandemic, at both the professional and personal level, of course. The use of cloud and video calling to collaborate has become commonplace to many of us, and many organisations are perhaps considering this as the new normal. I mean, today's conference is of course a perfect example of that. So if we ask the question, could the control room become remote in the future? Well, certainly some of the barriers to remote working are there for us all to consider, things like security of information, security of environment, as well as some of the technical challenges mentioned. And these do need to be overcome. But some of the barriers are more cultural in nature. So whilst technology can be an enabler, there are other factors that need to be considered as part of future planning, especially as many countries are now finding themselves in the grip of the second wave of the pandemic. So that really concludes the presentation. Please feel free to download the white paper, and also please do get in touch across all the different channels. We've got other research papers, and we've also got we can talk to you about new and emerging technology that we think will be of interest. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you for sticking to time. We have 1 minute, so I open now the floor for the questions. So far, we didn't receive any, but as we have the habitude, as we say, they are always coming at the end. So this time we will wait a little bit and see if there are any questions arriving. In the meantime, I will present already the next presenter, who will be Marjorie Simon from Allianz Partners. But before we move to her, I look at the questions panel and see if there are any. In this case, Ian, I will let you go. I thank you for your presentation and I move forward. Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, Marjorie. Good afternoon to you. Are you with us? Yes.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well. Now the presentation.
Hello?
On the full screen. Hello, we see you well. Well, we see the presentation on the full screen and we hear you. You're ready to go.
Okay, perfect. So hello everybody. Thanks for having me here. I am Marjorie Simon. I am the head of connected car services at Allianz Partners. So what I will do right now is first present you quickly Allianz Partners and what we're doing, and then I will do a deep dive into what we do on the emergency services for connected cars and connected vehicles in general. So, but first, let me give you some overview of what we are doing. So basically, Allianz Partners, we are, as you see, we are part of the Allianz Group, so part of a major insurer, and we are the assistance company, so the service company of Allianz. So some of you know us already in the different markets through either the brand Allianz Partners or some under the brand Mondial Assistance. And we are operating and providing assistance and insurance services in 4 main ecosystems. So one is home and living. So it's about supporting our customer when they have an issue at home. So it can be an accident, but it could also be something more minor like water leakage, or we are also helping with pet care or digital risk protection of your mobile device or your digital identity. Travel, so here we are supporting customers in case they have to cancel a trip or in case they have an issue abroad. can be like a health issue. In extreme cases, we are helping with hospitalization and also repatriation to the home country. Health and wellness, so here it's basically about protecting expatriates, but also about providing prevention or services such as teleconsultation. And what interests us today, mobility and automotive. So we are also protecting customers along their journey on the road. And this means that we are providing services in case of breakdown, but also we are supporting them in case of accident. And this is a very topic that interests us today. So very briefly about the assistance DNA and where we are present and what is the scale of our operations. So we are present in 76 countries, serving customers in 70 languages with our 21,000 employees. We have an NPS from 74. And just to give you an idea of the volume of our operations, so we handle 65 million cases per year, 3.8 million of towings. We work with more than 40 car brands in more than 30 countries. And in terms of calls handled, this represents 89 million. And also to give you an idea of the operation of rescue and assistance abroad, we have 21 million kilometers covered by our ambulance, and we have roughly 900,000 medical providers worldwide. So we will see how we are using this DNA of supporting and helping customers when they have some impediments in the field of connected vehicles. So coming to connected vehicles, so the idea is that, as you know, connectivity is one of the mega trends that is now penetrating the mobility ecosystem. Cars are more and more connected, and Allianz Partners is positioned to leverage this connectivity to support customers on the road in any situation. So this can range from having an insurance that is based on usage, so that is either based on the mileage or encouraging customers to drive safely. It can be also in using the data to provide a more efficient service in case of breakdown. So basically knowing where the car is, where the customer is located when he has a breakdown, and having also receiving data from the car to understand what is exactly the type of issues that this car is having. It can also be about anticipating issue with more predicted services that are using the data from the car to anticipate issues. It can be about comfort and convenience, so to avoid to make sure that the customer is more focused and can be assisted behind the wheel. And also it can be about safety and also accelerating the rescue of the customer in case of a crash. So this is basically this was really a trend that has been peaking with car manufacturers thanks to the European regulations that enter into force in April 2018, so the European ECALL regulation. So we are providing this service of emergency call to our car manufacturer clients. So just to look at the different components of this ECALL service and how it works. So basically, it is really a combination combination of technology. So integrating with our car manufacturer partners and receiving data from the car, and also the human touch that is provided by the DNA and the strong experience of Allianz Partners in services and in assistance to persons. So to describe a little bit the service, what happens is that if the car is crashing, or if the driver or passenger of the car has identified a serious issue, he can press a button, or if the car is crashing, there is there can be also an automatic crash notification. So basically, this is a flow of data, and this is also a phone call that are triggered from the car and that are received in the systems of Allianz Partners. So they are routed to a dedicated platform that is speaking the language of the driver. So there is a routing process, and we our agents in the different call center platform are receiving this data. So they see exactly, for instance, where the car is located. They see the direction of the car. They see the number of people in the car. So they have all the indication that will enable them to contact the relevant emergency services so that they can address the case in the most efficient way. So this is a minimum set of data that is also defined by the European regulation. We are connected to the different local so-called PSAPS, so the local emergency services that are in charge of the particular area where the car has crashed. And the data will be transmitted to this local PSAP so that the case can be handled efficiently and that we can minimize the impact of this accident by having an intervention that is fast enough. So this is basically how it works. So immediate transmission of the voice and the data from the car to Allianz, and then filtering of this data. So quick analysis of this data by an agent to identify if yes or no it is a real emergency and not overwhelm the emergency services with so-called false positive. And in case of a real positive, fast handover to the relevant and competent emergency service. So basically, yes, as I was saying earlier, so to summarize what assets we are providing to handle these emergency calls is, first of all, like this year-long expertise that Allianz Partners has in providing assistance. And this started, as I described earlier, with medical assistance. So we have really a good track record in that area. The fact that we are working closely with local authorities. So we are working in the local markets. We are following how the local governments are adapting the European regulation and acquire the right license to operate. Proximity with the PSAPS, the fact that we are also a member of this EENA association to keep really on the top of the evolution of emergency services, or operational excellence and the optimization of our processes, or a flexible way of integrating with multiple partners, and mostly through the integration through APIs, and also a strong risk management. So that was the message for this presentation, and you can contact me if you have more questions at my email directly that you have here. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Marjorie, for being with us today. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. I will invite again the audience to send their questions as soon as possible during the presentation of a speaker. I will now move to another presenter because the time is rushing. We're already a little bit over time. Thank you, Marjorie.
Thank you.
And now we move to Microsoft, and David Williams will be presenting.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you're ready to go. All is well.
All is well. Okay, great. Well, my name is David Williams, and I'm with the Microsoft Worldwide Public Sector team, and I focus on public safety and justice and first responder strategy. So we're really here to empower public safety and justice agencies, working with our partner ecosystem and bringing our technology and the modernization and the digital transformation of the public safety sector. We realize it's a very challenging time for public safety agencies. You know, it's the biggest revolution in technology for these agencies in the last 50 years, and it's almost overwhelming the amount of systems and data are out there, and it's hard to know where to start. So we're here to talk about how we can help you with your digital journey, digital transformation journey, and provide advice and assistance and work with the people that you already trust to provide this. So we really take an integrated approach to public safety and justice. We think about it as a continuum from social engagement all the way through incident response and on into offender management and then societal reentry. And we go across these 4 pillars, so coordinated first response, police, fire, emergency services, disaster management, intelligent-led operations, but really intelligence cuts across all the pillars, and then digital justice or the digital courts, and then offender management and reform, and how all of those can be integrated and collaborative. So on this slide here, talk a little bit about from the left and then over to the right side of the slide. So on the left, you think about this as your lowest level municipality that has all these various services. And through integration, they can save costs, cut down on paper, and begin integrating and sharing data collaboratively so that you really get information told to you one time, and that information becomes available through the entirety of the system and the life cycle of the justice system. You could do that inside of your own data center, but when you really start thinking about trusted systems, cloud systems, and the ability to move more to what we're talking about with interjurisdictional is the ability to share data with others. So share it with the country to your right or left, share it with the government agencies above you, or with other agencies that come in on like a multi-agency task force. And really that's all about having data in a shared environment that's trusted to where you can readily share it. And the reason that's important is, especially in the criminal world, gaps exist, and they exist because of borders, barriers, stovepipe systems, and we can break down those gaps in information and knowledge and insights by having this data exchange and these trusted architectures that can help information travel freely and be shared freely, staying in compliance with GDPR and protecting the data and keeping it secure inside the systems. First responders can do that by utilizing several disruptive tools, and I'll just talk a little bit about each of them. So translation services, you think about multicultural, multi-language societies that we all live in. An emergency services person shows up for some sort of physical emergency, a medical emergency. There's no way of knowing what language the person speaks that you're there to deal with, or the family that's helping you understand what the problem is. But through the use of artificial intelligence, you can show up with an edge device, and you can have translation services right there in both languages to make sure that you get critical information. Like, think about an allergy to some sort of drug that's life-threatening. Having that information right there and having it accurate is super important. And then with the Internet of Things, with sensors and with wearable technology, think about officer or firefighter safety. So if an officer or a firefighter is wearing a wearable device that can monitor heart rate, blood pressure, location, it has an accelerometer in it so you know whether or not they fall, has geospatial capability so you know exactly where they are. Think about firefighter safety in a multi-floor structure, understanding that they've fallen and what floor they're on so you can get help to them quickly. And all of that can be kicked off through automated workflows and processes. And then one of the things I'm really excited about is like data integration and disaster modeling. So typically rehearsals in disaster modeling is a tabletop exercise where it's on a map or it's on a whiteboard or a chalkboard, something like that. With the modern capability, you can do that with digital twins. So you can immerse yourself with virtual reality or augmented reality into a disaster where you can bring all the forces that are going to be responding at the different multi-agencies and truly rehearse the disaster before it occurs to identify your gaps and figure out the resources that you need to cover in those gaps, leading to better outcomes when a real emergency occurs. And then finally, communications, multi-channel and multi-agency. So citizens need to be able to get emergency services through whatever technology that they use to communicate, whether that's social media, a mobile phone, a hardwired phone, texting, and bringing all that to the PSAP and being able to respond in the same time frame as you would through a normal call system. And then multi-agency, where you go back to this disaster modeling. If everyone shows up and they bring different communication systems, making sure those communication systems are interoperable is super important, and that can be done with technology through things like mesh networks. So a person with a handheld radio can communicate with somebody who's sitting on a mobile data terminal operating off a collaborative platform like Microsoft Teams. So bring that all to a vehicle. This instance is a policing vehicle, but it could be a fire vehicle or some other emergency response, and integrating all that data so that you create, one, the vehicle becomes a sensor platform. It also becomes an integrated platform to the first responder and all the sensors and communication devices they have on them when they exit the vehicle, as well as having edge computing capability so that you can take extremely time-sensitive workloads, process them right there, and kick off alerts in the time that they need to be. And an example of that would be a person walking up on a parked police vehicle carrying some sort of weapon, being able to have object detection, process that alert immediately, and alert the officer in the car that there's someone near them with a weapon that's a threat. All of this together so that you have vertical connection to the cloud back to the headquarters and adjacent connection to other responding units, so you create this complete situational awareness and this common operating picture. And all of the things that are on this slide, they exist today and they can be integrated. So I'll take you a little bit through this Western Australia digital policing vision. So this is one of our customers. They work with many vendors and partners in our partner ecosystem, and they currently have a long-term vision for digital policing. And this is just some examples, and many of these elements they've already implemented. So you think about an officer responding to an event and being able to have all the intelligence and information pushed to them in their vehicle, so it's readily available. They didn't have to query a system, they didn't have to make a radio call, and they didn't have to ask, as well as having it geolocated so that you can overlay weather and traffic information and provide them the best route to get to where that emergency is occurring or where that crime's occurred. Then they can capture everything digitally, to include with a body camera being able to take witness statements, and you can use voice to text to change all of that and be able to analyze it and store it, but you capture it right there on the scene. You no longer have to write notes and then go back and try to put it into a system and hope that you remembered everything and you captured it accurately. You can also readily push out, be on the lookout for it, and alert citizens in the area of some possible dangers so that they can be alert and aware. And then through the use of biometrics, face recognition technology, when that suspect shows up somewhere on a camera, an alert can be generated, resulting in arrest, decreasing the time that they're out in the community and quickly getting them off the streets. And then being able to push all of that data clear through into the court system. So I'll use one example. So in the US, if you're arrested, you probably provide the same information 6 or 7 times, as well as you get fingerprinted multiple times. Why not have a trusted system where all that information is gathered once and it goes through the entire life cycle, saving money, saving time, increasing efficiencies, and building better outcomes. And all of that can be done on what we look at as a modern government data platform. And I'll just talk a little bit about the pieces on the edge of this because there's a lot going on inside of here. But the important parts on the left-hand side is that you have all these data sources. So your on-prem data, things that the customer already has, legacy systems, other cloud providers, real-time stuff like cameras and phones and social media, and then all those edge computing devices so that you can put those important compute functions out on the edge where they're needed for real-time sensitive workloads. And then on the far right, you have the ways that you interact with data, whether that's using a bot service to offload routine responses that can take a person out of the loop because you can put that person on something that's more important to have them in. You can use Power Apps and Flow, and citizens can reach in and get data. All of this wrapped inside of a trusted architecture so that you make sure that only those who have access get access to those bits of data. So if you're a partner, a future partner, a customer, or you just want someone to help with advice on creating policy, process, procedures, and building a plan for digital transformation, Microsoft would love to be that trusted advisor for you. I can be contacted by email, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have or talk to you at any time about anything that we're doing in the public safety and justice space. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David, for your presentation. It's true that 10 minutes is very short. You cannot go into details of all the slides and all the projects and products and solutions. This is why we invite our audience to then contact you individually afterwards. Because now, as the time is rushing, I will give 1 minute just for people to ask their questions. In the meantime, David, would you like something to add to your presentation?
No, no, nothing to add. I really appreciate the invite and the opportunity to present to the audience, and I gladly welcome any questions or anyone to contact me by email.
Okay, we are glad to have you with you as well, and we still have 2 presentations to go. I look at the questions. As always, they come at the last minute. So if you ask question and it's not answered, either live or by text in the chat window, please excuse us. We are trying to adapt the time as we are further going. So if we don't have any questions, then I invite next speaker to the stage, Peter Golding from Huawei.
Can I confirm that you can see my slides and you can hear me clearly?
I confirm everything is in order.
Lovely. Let me just put on the video as well so you can actually see me, hopefully.
Yes, we do see you well. You're ready to go.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for staying with us and joining me and the colleague that's going to come after me. I'm Peter Goulding. I'm one of the global government industry experts of Huawei. And we're going to talk about next generation trends. There's a lot of discussion about this in command centers, but I'm going to focus a bit about artificial intelligence and also 5G. Now, Huawei is a leading provider of ICT infrastructure and smart devices. You probably heard of us, but you don't know much about us. Our raison d'etre, what we do, is building a fully connected, intelligent world. We have 194,000 employees across over 170 countries and regions, employing a lot of local people in each of those countries as part of our organization. I am an example. And in our employees, 96,000, a substantial number, is focused on innovation, solution development, finding solutions for all our customers. It's the research and development team. And if we think of companies as global companies, the top 500, well, Huawei is listed as number 49 in that list. So the next generation trends command centers, and we've heard some of this already, is about 3D mapping. It's artificial intelligence. It's utilizing augmented reality. And soon to come, we have it now, 5G, but not all the mission critical standards in 5G yet. That work is still ongoing, but it's not far away. So before the incident, we want to help you with our solutions to prevent and predict. Intelligent sensing is what we would call it, whether it's video or analytics to predict and warn. Detect and respond during the incident, because so important to this is multi-agency collaboration, working together as teams jointly to do something. It could be intelligence-led policing. It could be smarter medical services or improved search and rescue. But also it's about communities, it's citizens, it's collaboration and working together and sharing information which is appropriate with them. And then we get to normalization or recovery. Here we got to have efficient case solving solutions. And we provide ICT platforms, data centers, networks to which you can put the applications of your choice on the top. You could put Microsoft, you could put APD that we heard earlier on top of our platforms and infrastructure to do the things that you want to do to improve your business. Let's mention artificial intelligence. It's an evolution. Many speakers have mentioned it. It's a core for our company because we actually produce the AI chips that go into end devices like a camera, a drone, a robot, a mobile phone, or of course, computers. And cloud computing is the way in which we go. And we are one of the largest cloud computing companies offering services to all our customers. But it's about big data, increasing the amount of video or other structured or unstructured data. And here AI can help. We provide a set of AI tools. So you as a customer, your partners can develop the AI capabilities that you want to do the tasks that you need to do. It doesn't have to be us doing it. We give you the tools so you can do that, or your partners, to develop the solutions you want. Here's some examples in command centers. AMPR is using AI increasingly, or facial recognition, or you're trying to spot something out of the ordinary. Top center, metadata extraction utilizing AI in video means you can get responses, searches very quickly in real time. You can look at probability. So when you're looking at someone's face, you have a quick probability of how accurate that might be to a record if your jurisdiction can do that sort of thing. Intelligence-led policing, that's people, objects, location, events. It could be geospatial work that you want to do. You want to predict and record where crime is so you can deploy resources appropriately. And the future? Well, command centers might move into more chatbots or voice over to text or autofill or translation services. And we're already seeing audio analytics like Gunshot already existing, and more will come. It's about efficiency and effectiveness in the command center. That's what all our companies, all of us want to do, is make it more efficient for you. You may have thousands of cameras. You're increasing the amount of input from various sources. You have GIS. So on the right-hand side, what we've developed is something that makes it simpler and easier for you to absorb the information. 3D, visualized, user interface, interactive, using augmented reality. Why? Enhance your situational awareness. Improved decision-making, maximize the information value, see what's going on, correlate the information, improve investigation and proactive patrolling, and interactive and integrated macro view. So the next generation algorithm-based AR real scene command system that we have now is what you see now. It's a correlation between video image, GIS coordinates on a GIS map, tagging information for disasters, information, buildings, etc. Here's an example. Actually working now in a major city in China, 20 million people. You see there on the screen, real-time video, high view, overlaid with various GIS information layers. Here is an example. A camera gives you a helicopter view. I can see where all the other cameras are and what they're looking at. Click, I see the camera. I click onto an icon and I can get some information. For example, this cityscape, I can click on a building, see the owner, the contact number, the evacuation plans. And then I can drill down at a lower level so I can get traffic information, information maybe about people, if it's appropriate in your jurisdiction, or simple information about this premises, this is the contact number, here is the information that will help you do your job. Capture information, use it in your control room. But it's also about 5G, and this will increasingly start to replace other networks like narrowband as we move forward. And an area that we could talk about is autonomous use. That's essential for 5G. And if we look at drones, We are now using visual line of sight. Somebody needs to be very close to the deployment. But in the Middle East, we have already developed and trialing the 5G digital sky. It is the low airspace digital network. So I can now deploy autonomously a number of drones, still controlled, but in a low airspace controlled environment. Therefore, you can have multiple drones operating. That's where the future is of 5G. But it can connect to control rooms, search and rescue, response, broadband trunking, and it's a future that 5G gives you. We all go to the exhibition centres, don't we? And we see a little robot increasingly moving around. Is it futuristic? Well, maybe it is. But actually, they are starting to be used in the commercial environment. My own company has a hotel. When I visit China, it's 26 floors up. Food, if I order it outside, gets delivered to my room through a robot using 5G or Wi-Fi 6. So you want to be able to connect to these devices wherever they are, police or commercial, because they have got multi-sensors, real-time information. They're collecting data that could help you with situational awareness. They're supplementing real-time information. It may be infrared thermal imaging. It may be some analytics. They may be detecting something. They may be able to respond, or you have just got to collect that information and connect it in to your next generation command center. And we can help you with all of that. And we work with an ecosystem of partners across the globe. So you can have our infrastructure, our hardware, whether it's cloud, servers, storage, data communications, or you can have some of our applications, or choose the applications of your choice. So we can help you together build a fully connected, intelligent world for public safety users. I am just one of a range of experts here to assist you. If you want to know about our storage capability, I have an expert. If you want to know about cloud, what sort of cloud and what we could do and how you can have your own secure private cloud capability, we can connect you with an expert so you can explore the future solutions that you need in your long-term next generation command and control. We are an EENA member. We have been so for many years. We are here like all EENA members from the supply side. We're here to help you work through what you want to do and give you ideas and solutions, and then you can pick the ones that you find most appropriate for you. I need to draw to a close, and I want to thank you for joining us or listening to me on our recording. I am Peter.Goulding at Huawei.com, or simply just put in Huawei.com, ask your question, we will connect with you. We have people locally to help you. Please reach out. We would love to have a conversation with you. Thank you very much indeed.
As Peter said, feel free to contact Peter and Huawei for any questions you might have. Now I will move. Thank you very much, Peter, for a brilliant presentation. Now we will move to the last speaker of today, and the presenting company is Avaya, and Markus Borheim is with us now. Markus, you're self-muted. Please unmute yourself.
I am unmuted now. Can you hear me, Kasia?
Yes, we hear you well, and your presentation is well visible, so you're ready to go.
Perfect, I'm ready to go. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and hopefully last but not least presenter on the third day of the series. Great initiative. So let me briefly take the audience through an Avaya overview, and I would like to start from what you see when you go to the EENA Who is Who pages. You will find the Avaya logo, and you see the areas of expertise clearly pinned out on that one. And I would like to briefly take you through these 5 areas of expertise that we have put into the presentation, into the corporate presentation here. So let's start with the obvious one, which of course is voice communications. And in voice communications, when you think and talk Avaya, you might know that the platform that Avaya is using since many, many years is a well-proven platform for public safety and emergency services, deployed in many countries in Europe, sometimes on a national level, so feeding all 112 calls, sometimes in specific regions. So over 600 PSAPS deployments, more than 150 million citizens served, and more than 80 million calls per year that are handled by this platform. We have multiple deployment options. When you have had that conversation with us maybe 10 years back, yes, it would definitely have been an on-premise deployment, but since the involvement of data center and cloud emerging, we support all of these deployment options as well. So in a private data center or in a private cloud-like deployment, you can have this platform as you need it and as you like it. And really looking at the achievements that we did over the past couple of years, one of the key strengths of the platform is, especially when you look into 112 PSAPS, receiving a huge amount of emergency calls when specific situations occur, automatic call distribution, so contact center features, but also solutions supporting ECALL from quite straightforward, simple ECALL decoding up to complex distribution of data from a centralized ECALL reception platform is the capabilities that we bring to market in here. One of the key strengths that I believe is very necessary for the next couple of years is the open interfaces that we support, extending the capabilities that we have, moving from the platform as it might be voice in your environment today to a multimedia management platform and going into advanced and more detailed computer-aided dispatch and GIS integration, supporting the capabilities of next generation communications. And this takes me to the next slide. So how do you approach NG112 from where you are today? Are you following the, let's say, standard approach, including SIP embedded location information, building your ESI net and establish location-based routing like it is written in the standards? Or maybe another option, having an ESI net already deployed and then asking yourself, well, how can I attach my public safety answering points to this NG112 ESI net if they are on different technologies, or moving into, let's say, a NETSI compliant NG112 collaboration platform for all public safety answering points, meaning that you implement and install a centralized solution that serves all of your public safety answering points with the same capabilities in terms of communication, collaboration, and applications driving the process. So these are the models that we support. Or, well, if it's none of those, and if you prefer to go your own way, building on installations that you have done in the past, building on requirements that you need to feed into, we are really here to and prepared to follow you in the direction that you want to take. So that's on next generation communications, which quickly leads me into multimedia communications. So what is your country's view on multimedia communications in 112? What strategy do you follow? Are you going full steam ahead towards NG112, like EENA was driving the NG112 deployment project over the last 1.5 years quite successfully? So is that the route you're going to take? Everything in an NG112 environment with SIP voice and video calls at the center? Or are there other aspects of multimedia that you would want to look at first before being prepared moving into the NG112 direction and build this on top, over the top if you wish, on your current 112 platform? Or will it be a combination of A and B? Again, there is not a single truth if you look into the complexity of different European countries, understanding the operational models of the emergency services, of the 112 services. This can be a very individual decision. So what we offer here for you is to pursue integrations with the Avaya Aura platform to drive multimedia integrations from a citizen apps perspective, to think about embedding the Internet of Things, collaboration for multiple agencies, for police, fire, and ambulance to really sit on the same platform and collaborate through the same platform with each other much more effectively in multi-agency response. And also thinking about emergency and non-emergency communications. So really building the bridge between the 112 and maybe the patient transportation services, which very often sit in the same organization but run through different services. So these are the options that we can discuss with you. And this now takes me to the next question about, well, how do we do emergency call routing in the future? Or rather, should I ask, emergency contact routing? Well, looking at the latest legislation in Europe, driving to more contact rather than just simply call, making multimedia become a reality, the European Emergency Collaboration Context, so the EECC, this is something that we can support holistically with all of the channels that we can see that are already deployed out there, from a citizen access on the straight telephony line, smartphone integrations with voice, with apps, with SMS, PC and browser-based communication, probably looking into WebRTC communication capabilities for voice and video streaming, but also smart living with special devices from an IoT perspective. All of these services are out there. And we can build your environment with the multimedia access capabilities to deal with all of these services inside the public safety answering point centralized platform, and looking into how do we manage multimedia and how do we route multimedia towards the endpoints, towards the organizations that are part of this PSAPS platform. And finally, last but not least, let's have a quick conversation of drones, UAVs in emergency communications. Many of you are aware that EENA is driving a very successful working group on drones in emergency communications since many, many years. And I've been following this group, always in mind the key questions that we as Avaya try to solve for you. So how do you deliver the UAV's video into the public safety answering point, into the control room, into the crisis center, or any other place you would need to bring it to? How would you do this for manually piloted aircrafts, UAVs, which are piloted by line of sight, visual line of sight? And how can you do this with automated piloted UAVs, so beyond visual line of sight? So we have the answers for this, and we have done proof of concepts already a couple of times. We can make the in-field deployed drone become visible in a centralized command and control center with a mobile video unit that we can run alongside with the drone. We can do this into a platform that is called Avaya Meetings, which is an on-premise deployment inside your data center within your IT environment, or as a cloud service with Avaya Spaces. And just to give you an impression, I have had the chance to do some videos over the past couple of weeks in Germany where we did both the manually piloted aircrafts, which you see on the left video, which is feeding into Avaya Spaces, or on the right video, we have an automatically piloted aircraft. So the drone being driven by a drone management platform, and the drone management platform integrating the video feed directly from the drone management platform into the video platform. And both of the options are available right here and right now. And if you want to review these videos, just hold your phone over these QR codes and they will lead you directly into the video, into the full videos, with English subtitles, of course, as well for those that are non-German speakers. So this was it for me. Thank you very much for listening to me, and handing back to Kasia.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Yes, you've been the last one to present. I don't see any questions. I think that almost everyone stayed with us until the end. So I will repeat that you can always contact our speakers because their contact details are available on their slides. So you can review the recording of the 3 consecutive afternoons because the recordings will be available tomorrow on our event webpage as well as in a YouTube channel. I'll repeat, the presentations will not be distributed, neither available to download on our event webpage. So yeah, I would like to say thank you to all of our speakers of today. Thank you, the audience, for staying with us. You will tomorrow receive an email informing you that all the materials are available. And here we are after 41 presentations, almost 3 afternoons together, hours spent on listening and digging into available solutions in the public safety market. We hope it was useful and enriching virtual event for you, which will lead to successful collaboration and, most important, to the improvement of the public safety sector. So EENA has decided to go virtual. Until we can physically meet again. Our community have great challenges in front, but we see that great opportunities are available out there, and with the help of our leading solution providers, we hope to make the world better. As Ford, my favorite person, said, as coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, working together is a huge success. So with this, I would like to leave now, I would like to pass now to Taviana, my colleague, and this is all from me. It was a pleasure to moderate and guide you for the last 3 afternoons. Stay safe.
Yes, thanks, Kasia. Yes, so thanks everyone for joining this online event. Thanks the presenters for the very informative presentations. It was a pleasure for Kasia and myself to moderate these 3 afternoons, 3 consecutive afternoons of presentations. We really hope you enjoyed, and it was really informative, and you learned a lot that it will help to create effective synergies to improve emergency response and to meet the challenges that are every day more numerous, especially in this period. So don't hesitate to contact the presenting companies, the industry, to help meet your needs. You know, EENA has always worked as a facilitator of exchanges between the stakeholders in the public safety community. And this was the intention behind this online event. We are here to support you. Don't hesitate to contact us if we can help you somehow. So stay safe and take care.
And as our tradition continues for the 3rd consecutive afternoon, I would like our speakers who stayed until the end and who wish to show their webcam, and us moderators, we're going to say goodbye to you in person because this physical touch is unfortunately missing. And yeah, and with this, we thank you all for staying with us until the end. We wish you all the best, and until we meet again. Bye-bye, everyone.